is Neko, apparently, who's going to be in our video. And today we're talking about Samhain, aka November's Eve, aka Halloween.
And we're drinking cider, locally made, because it's 3:30 p.m. when we're filming this. I did bring red wine though, and I'll probably talk to her into drinking that.
We'll probably
at some point. Yeah, we probably will switch. So when we start becoming more forthcoming with our ideas, then
it's probably when the wine came out.
it's definitely when the wine came out.
So we're going to be carving pumpkins and talking about this time of the year, which is kind of really about like the death part of the life, death, rebirth cycle. And this one is your favorite, so I'm going to have you start this off.
So, I mean, I didn't do my due diligence and do any big research about Samhain and the history and whatever, because you can look up a million articles about it, and I don't want to like just sort of talk without just sort of regurgitating misinformation. But I do know like that across different cultures, they're noticing, like a lot of people notice, like ancient people, modern people, the sun, at least in this hemisphere, there's less daytime. So from now until the solstice in December, it's going to get darker and darker and darker and darker. And so a lot of things are dying, and it's okay, and it doesn't have to be a scary thing. We've talked a lot about sex and death and stuff on this podcast before, but now it's actually the season, and I got these adorable white pumpkins, so let's do this shit.
Yeah, this season for me is very much about like accepting that everything comes to an end. It can be scary, so like we can do like, you know, the horror movie stuff and all of that, and like this is a good time to, you know, explore that darker side of human nature. But it's also like, for me, it's not really about the gory side of things. It's more just about remembering that like there are cycles, and part of that cycle is not, you know, always the bright shiny unicorn side of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good, and it can be a really powerful time to do some nice rituals. I'm gonna go over to a friend of mine's house this full moon for some banishment stuff, and getting rid of, because we're coming up on the death, and it will be on the full moon, so it's like
that's right, it's another one of those twofers.
Yes. So it's about, I think it's the 24th this month. This should be coming out around then, so you know what I'll be doing. My big plan, because she's new to the sort of witchy path thing, I don't like really big, drawn out ceremonies. That's fine if for like certain Wiccan traditions, they like every time they want to invoke like the Lord and the Lady, and they do these things in a certain order, and that's really cool if that's your bag. I'm not saying like my witchcraft's better, because it's not. But that just like it's not how I roll. Like my dastardly plan is to go over there. I'm gonna read her runes. She's gonna read my tarot. We're gonna do some smudging with sage. I would like to eat 3 pomegranate seeds in honor of Persephone and that whole myth of going to the underworld, and this is why we have the season. And also one of my favorite things to do for Samhain is to do some ancestor honoring or worship, whatever word you're comfortable with. So, or you sort of honor the power that you were passed down with. And I know a lot of people's relationships with their families can be contentious. I'm also a family therapist besides all the other weird shit I do.
But very well rounded.
But you know, depending on what your relationship is with your family, you can honor those that they don't necessarily have to be your blood family. Like, I've got all sorts of family that is not necessarily biologically related to me. Honoring the people that came before you, the lessons you were taught, and if there are some gnarly scars in your family tree, maybe even doing a little bit of work to heal them.
Because I mean, the darkness aspect of it isn't just like things die. It's also like that we have the dark side of our human nature.
We do.
Like what can come into play with that is even just like our psychology and our darker side of our emotions. And I mean, that has a lot to do with family because
totally.
Those things always cross over.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, do you have any particular things that you like to do for Samhain?
Yeah, like I'm kind of on the same bandwagon as you with the like not necessarily a huge crazy ceremony thing. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody who I felt really cool with was like, hey, let's dance under the full moon, I'd be like, sure.
Fuck yeah,
but,
man.
Like, most of the time, being honest, like most of the time, especially for us solitary practitioners, we're kind of just like, what am I going to do today, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, like, I do something a little bit different every year, but it's always revolving around similar themes. So actually, for example, I have some props for you guys.
Oh, word.
So this is a jar that contains random items from my old house that I collected on November's Eve.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and they all just happen to be like those colors too, like the dark reds and oranges and all of that, and a
I
little
love
bit
the
of purple.
purples. Oh my god, and there's like blues. Oh my goodness, it looks like morning. I don't know, like when the sun comes out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm gonna sound like the most hippy-dippy thing ever. Looks like
Admire
morning.
the herbs. But yeah, this is kind of, I wanted to make a tradition out of that where like on each day of the wheel of the year, I would go to like whatever natural environment I'm in and collect bits of things, and then I could use that for spells or like whenever I want to re-evoke that energy, or maybe just like burn it as incense the following year. But that's something that you can do. Another thing that I like to do is kind of just like literally just chill out, do some kind of shadow work practice. So like you were saying, runes and tarot cards to kind of bring out those buried emotions and things, and then do some journaling on that, maybe some automatic writing where you channel like your deep self and find out what's really in there. Journal entries about ancestors, your thoughts on death, anything like that. So like last year I actually ran a challenge where I had people write a whole Book of Shadows page on each of the themes. So like we did, what does a witch mean to you? What what are your thoughts about death? What are your feelings about darkness? Like just different things like that. Pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, like whatever. And just getting creative, because like, I mean, today is not a good example because it's really hot as hell today.
It is so hot.
Because it's early October when we're filming this, but like usually for us in New York, by the time it is actually November's Eve, it is starting to get cold. You're not spending as much time outside running around having fun.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of just about bringing that comfort indoors, burning those candles, doing pumpkin crafts, things like that, and just kind of allowing myself to be at home with my own energy, including the dark side of that I'm exploring and making peace with. So
yeah,
that's kind of in a nutshell what I do, and that can take the form of a lot of different things, including like watching witchy movies and documentaries just pass the time.
yeah. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of death themes going on.
Well, yeah,
there.
I got through when Daenerys, like when she, the witch woman from, like ends up killing Khal Drogo, and so she burns him on, she burns her at the stake and the pyre and all this stuff, and it was like, I'm having very contentious feelings, but because I think Daenerys is a witch too at the heart of it. Yeah.
I know, in a sense, definitely.
Yeah, and Khal Drogo was not. I mean, he's a very hot man, but like there's some problematic things going on with the Dothraki people. So I was like, going just because you help the medicine woman not get raped by one of his soldiers does not mean she's going to be like, oh yeah, like we're totally cool. So,
Game of Thrones.
Sorry, we got a little. This is now a Game of Thrones podcast.
I mean, you're inspiring me to totally, maybe around this time of year, like start getting back into Game of Thrones, because I kind of fell off of that bandwagon like a couple years ago actually, but like probably because it was like, oh, this is so violent, and I wasn't like into it at the time.
Oh yeah.
But I always was like, I am gonna, when I'm feeling up to it, I am gonna go back and watch that.
I really like it. I was Aw, cute Samhain story. When I was 6, I was Xena Warrior Princess. I think we've gone through this one before. Yeah. So I'm always all about like warrior women and not violence, what I like to call consensual violence, because people are violent in front of me, like, and I don't know, like, I don't have control over it if it's not like a thing where two people, and like, I love to go to boxing matches or like mosh pits, things like that. If
everyone good, clean fun.
Yeah, if like somebody cocks back and like punches somebody in front of me, like, I will have like a visceral reaction, be like, no, 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 don't like that, because they didn't both sign up for this. That's what I'm saying. So, because, yeah, I think conflict and violence have important parts in our society and, like, the world, because otherwise nothing would get done, basically. Yeah. Like, you need it.
You've got to, like, map that out in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise it comes out, you know, in worse ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another theme that, like, actually comes up for me, and I grabbed my little timepieces here.
Oh, yeah.
Time. Like,
oh my god.
The idea.
Do you just go, like, berserk, like, during...
This is actually a gift for a friend. It's for Carly. She's really into skull things and bone things. But I think I'm going to give this to her before this video comes out, whatever. It's supposed to be
surprise, Carly!
But, yeah, like, I did find this and I loved it because it's like skeleton hands holding a timepiece, and it just reminds you that, like, everything passes, like, time passes, things change, things evolve through that, like, life, death, rebirth phase, and this part just reminds you of, like, your own mortality, the mortality of, like, Ashera and I both have cats who have tumors right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, my poor little potato bug. She's 16. She's gonna get some lumps and stuff right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just found out that my cat has something weird going on with his foot, and, like, it was I found out yesterday, and it was one of those things where it was like, oh, I'm a witch, and I'm always going on about how there's life and death, and it's totally fine, but when it's your person, or your cat, or your animal, or whatever, then all of a sudden it's like, why is this happening to us?
Yeah.
You know? But we have to remember it's all part of the cycle, and we just have to, we can't avoid it, it's about how we choose to deal with it.
Yeah, like with Roxanne, my cat, she's 16, she's got a fatty tumor in her neck. It's very common for elderly beasts. She's still, like, playing, laughing. Yeah, still laughing. Still eating, still doing her things. It's just, like, a very, like, visual, like, she went from, like, oh, I'm, like, still like a young and spry little cat to, like, overnight, like, you are old and you smell and you've got this, like, goiter on your neck, like, what are you doing? And I was like, you're an old cat. And cognitively I am aware of this because I've had this beast since 8th grade. Like, that's a very long time. Emotionally, I still drink too much wine and then get emotional about this.
I mean, how could you not?
Like,
I literally, that's how I spent last night. That's why I was so unprepared for this
topic.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, freaking out about your cats. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I'm just doing in that spirit, making sure that I spend a lot of quality time with her, making sure that she gets all the snuggles in that she's never going to have enough snuggles. Like,
there's never enough.
Now, that cat, if she could, she would crawl inside of my skin and live inside of me.
Speaking of Halloween.
Cats
are creepy.
She's really creepy. She's really obsessive. Yeah.
I think I've decided I'm going to draw on my pumpkin because I just can't bring myself to cut it.
Oh, yeah. I brought myself to do that. It's okay. It's really slimy in there. I'm slurping down my cider because we're breaking out the wine. So today we're drinking Killabinbin Red Blend, and I'm really jazzed about this because it had good reviews. Mine's also going to have a hint of apple cider. I'm lazy. Oh, that's fucking delightful. Also, Afura has shiny, beautiful spoons. It's gonna be like an Ashera commercial break. Why don't you look for it?
I am trying really hard to collect really nice things for myself, you know?
Isn't it nice to do that?
Yeah, like I'm 29, I should have nice things now. So I was like, you know what? Holographic cookware? Yeah.
I mean, I definitely still take a ton of hand-me-downs, but now I'm being pickier about what kinds.
Exactly.
Like,
do I actually want this, or am I taking it just because?
Afura was over at my house, and my good friend Grace, who helped us with the champagne from episode 1 via phone, she gave me like some. Now I'm like collecting really nice wood stuff for my furniture, instead of just being like, "Welp, it was free and it fit in my home."
Yeah.
Although I did totally pick up a table a few days ago because it was sitting outside, and I did try and call my friend to help me bring a couch into my apartment.
Oh my gosh.
I was really excited about this couch.
That's always
It looked really nice, and I live up a spiral staircase, and I was really happy that I was like, "Hey, Amelia, what are you doing?" She's like, I'm at Garrett's. Why? I was like, "Come over and let me get this couch up to my house." And she's like,
So she was drinking.
we both. I think it was after a game or something. So, I definitely had been. And then I was like, as I say this out loud, and she's like, "Asher, it's raining, and there's no way that's gonna fit into your apartment," and all these reasons. I was like, the more I'm saying this out loud, the more happy I am, because it's also midnight at this point. That you're here for me and not letting me make this decision to get bed bugs.
Yeah, that's always the thing you have to worry about, because and this kind of ties into the theme of the season, I feel like, because I feel like that life, death, rebirth cycle also applies to things.
Oh,
like
totally.
The recycling thing. Like, I'm really big into eco-fashion and reduce, reuse, recycle type stuff. Like this shirt, for example, definitely from the thrift store.
Oh, yeah.
But there has to be that balance, though. Like, for example, you don't want to buy underpants from the thrift store. Because, some things, you do have to accept that sacrifice of, yes, we do have to expend the energy and the resources to make new things sometimes.
Yeah.
And we have to become okay with that, but we also need to kind of balance that with, where can I kind of make up for that by also reusing things. So if it's a couch that's outside that might have bed bugs, don't do it, guys.
You don't need it. You don't need to do that.
But if it's a nice dresser, it's like, well,
Oh.
hey,
I mean,
why not?
I think those can still get bed bugs too, but I'm not an expert on bed bugs. I don't know.
See, I've been
I don't know how bed
bringing
bugs
dressers
work. Yeah. Yeah.
My
It was a
entire
table.
life.
It was a table. And so far, my house is not infested with any insects yet, so we're going to chalk that up as a win.
For sure. So you got an email from somebody asking about correspondence.
We did.
Right?
We did. It was after our first one. I'm sorry we kind of spaced on that.
Yeah. Also, our episodes are so far apart. We have a lot of time to forget.
Yeah. Yeah, that we do. So yeah, this isn't necessarily Halloween themed, but I guess let's go into correspondences. Like, what is a correspondence? So in spell work, correspondences, the way I would describe them are tools that you would use to sort of set your intention with it. And so they can definitely be with seasonal, with the Sabbats and stuff, or they can be sort of topical. So I like to use cinnamon a lot if I'm doing money magic.
Now, why? Why do you feel like cinnamon works for that?
I don't know, but I read it in one of my spell books as a teenager, and it stuck with me, and it's never done me wrong. So I can't say why these things work. They just do for me.
Yeah. I like cinnamon for, I will use it in money magic work specifically because I feel like, for me, it represents, strength, spicing something up, and, power and success.
Yeah.
Because, that's what it tastes like to me.
So cinnamon tastes like success.
It does. Why not? Cinnamon tastes like success. So, obviously, money is something that comes along with that, so might as well pop it in that money, pop it in that money spell. Something that I like to use for money magic is bay leaves.
Really?
Yeah, and again, it's another one of those things. We're gonna sound like witches who just read things out of books and don't have a reason why. But
I gotta just follow my heart, okay?
Yeah. We're the kind of witches that follow our hearts. A lot of the time it's because we genuinely are like, yes, that's what that's for me. But other times it's because someone suggested it and it's why not?
Yeah.
I think I heard about the bay leaf thing in probably a YouTube video years ago where apparently I think it's like an old, like, southern, probably like a hoodoo tradition where you would write the amount of money you want on the leaf, and then you would burn it, and bay leaves like burn and sparkle when you burn them. And they're just like a little green leaflet, and I guess that's why people were like, this can represent like money. So.
Oh my god, I'm gonna do that every day.
I literally do it every day.
You literally do this every day. I had an ex-boyfriend that would make fun of me. We lived together, and I was like, you know, I needed to make money, and he was doing laundry. He kept finding because I forget to empty my pockets. He kept finding my cinnamon sticks, so I just put them in my pocket.
And he's like, why do you have
what the fuck? He's like, what's going on with your cinnamon sticks? I was like, I'm trying to make money. He's looking at me like, what does that mean? Ashera, you're not making sense. I'm like, yeah, you're not my dad. Like, it doesn't need to make sense to you. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That, and he would always like just set crap on my altars. Like, oh my god. And I'm not like a very clean person. I'm very cluttered. And I'd be like, I've got 6 square feet, maybe 4 to 6 square feet in the house that is just mine. Like, and be like putting his keys on him. Don't put your crap on here.
It's like,
meanwhile,
altars are not like, I feel like it's called a sacred space for a reason.
Yeah.
People, like, you can throw your stuff wherever you want. Just like leave this person's personal space alone.
Yeah, it's the same with like touching anyone's magical tools. Like, it was like one of my first apartments. My roommate knew, and I wasn't home, and somebody went over and picked up my runes, and she was like, "You don't touch those." Like, Ash is chilled. She's like, she will not be chill about this. Like, do not touch those. Those are hers. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, as for other correspondences, for sort of like any love magic, I like to use roses a lot. Like, I'll use that for incense.
Yeah, I totally agree, though. I feel like that's like an obvious one, and anybody can, because like for me, correspondences have to have some significance to you. Whether you have read it out of a book and tried it and had success with it, and that's why you're connected to it, or whether it's just because it's something that you picked because it reminds you of something.
Yeah.
But roses are a good one that anyone can work with because it's so ingrained into like the collective consciousness that like when you love someone, you give them roses. So,
yeah.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
I have a mason jar because I'm a good witch. And we love mason jars.
Yes, we do.
When they're given to me, I dry them, and so I don't have roses hanging all over my house, like a hoarder of roses.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with roses hanging from your house.
I know, but like from like everywhere. Yeah. Then I cut the bulbs off of after they're dry, and then they're just in jars. Mm-hmm. So that way it's sort of like a nice thing, and they're not, because otherwise my cats knock them over, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this looks terrible. Now it's roses mixed in with cat litter. Like,
yay. Oh my god, the cat litter struggle.
That's a beautiful correspondence. What do you use cat litter for?
Okay, I do not use cat litter for anything. However, you guys are going to love this. I do have cat correspondences, though.
Do you do stuff with their whiskers?
I have a jar full of whiskers, and I also have claws. Because you know how when they shed their claws, and you'll just find a little claw sitting on the carpet.
Yeah.
And I do yoga a lot, so I'm on the floor a lot, and I'm like, ooh, a whisker, ooh, a claw.
Yeah.
And to be really honest, I haven't used them for really anything
I just collect them, yeah.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, and now that this is a very real topic now, I think what's going to happen is when they're gone, I'm going to be like, you know, I wish Mowgli was here to help me with this magic the way that he used to. Let me grab one of his claws and throw it into this bag or whatever. And I don't know. We'll see what becomes of the jar of cat collections.
Yeah, my friend. Yeah, because we were talking about this one day. We were at a music festival, and I was like, I called it the whisker box, and she gave me a really funny look. And then this is taking it to an extreme level. Later that day, she came up, she's like, I need to tell you something. I'm like, oh boy, what is it? Because I thought she just thought I was crazy for having my whisker box. Oh, I'm really fucking this up. And she's like, I like to collect my cat's hairs and roll them into cat dreadlocks. And I was like, what? And she's like, eventually I throw them out. I'm like, eventually?
Oh, that's just weird, though.
One day, because I was making fun of her so much about it. Yeah, that is weird. She's a weirdo. I love you, dear. I'm not going to say your name on the internet, but...
You know who you
yeah,
are.
then she like came and gave me one. And I was like, thank you. That's very strange.
Oh, you have cat bones in your house.
I do have cat bones. I do have cat bones. My friend gave me a necklace made out of cat bones for last solstice, and he was like, I wasn't too sure if that was too far for you. I was like, it is not. And a cat died, presumably natural causes, in his neighborhood. He found it, watched it sort of deteriorate over time. I asked a friend that preserves bones, and like a taxidermist friend or something, that's who he hangs out with, how to preserve them, and they told him, and so he did, and then he made me a necklace out of them. So it really ties any outfit together. It really does.
I feel like that's really cool on the one hand, and then on the other hand, like, I know that I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't, like, I mean, even just seeing a dead cat is very difficult for me, let alone, like, watching it decay and then using the bones and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I'm not judging someone else for doing it, because it's like, yeah, you're embracing, like, the beauty of death, but for me, I'm just like, oh my god.
Oh, what is this? Yeah. Yeah.
I do have other bones, though. Like, I have, like, if I find an animal's bones in the wild that are already sun bleached and, you know, fully everything is decayed off of it, I'll usually collect those. I've made jewelry out of it, and sold it back when selling jewelry was my jam. And I have this guy, in fact, I don't know where he is right now. I must have put him away, but I have this guy that my sister and I call Bone Daddy. That's from Nightmare Before Christmas. I was gonna say, what the fuck?
Bone Daddy. That sounds like very familiar.
Yeah. He's like, what's up, Bone Daddy? But like, he's basically a deer skull that my sister found when we were little, like preteens. Yeah. And we've just had this deer skull forever, and I ended up drawing some like Native American style art on the crown of it. And I kind of, again, I just keep it as, like, obviously this isn't mine, this is a gift for a friend, but I keep it as, like, the same symbol of, like, nature is beautiful while it's alive, but then there's also death, and we can kind of find beauty in that somehow, too.
Yeah. I do have some runes that were a gift for me, that are made out of antler, and I really like those ones, and those are ones where I don't even cast them for other people. Like, those are strictly, like...
just for you.
Just for me. And I might put them out on my altar every once in a while, but I don't want them to get batted around the house. So those ones are definitely very special. And there is something really... like, antler is such a hard material to work with. When I was given them, because they were made for me, I was like, this is the most beautiful gift I've ever received in my whole life.
So you know the person that made them?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes, yeah, my father made them. So,
so your dad is very, very good with that sort of thing that I was just saying I'm bad with.
He made a set previously. Well, I mean, I believe he just found the shed antler. Or he purchased an antler from somewhere. He did make a set for my mother, and the blank rune, it's really powerful and meaningful, but antler's really hard to work with, so he kept cutting himself, so he had to paint the runes red, and the blank rune is just his thumbprint. So
that is so personal and unique. I can see why you only read for yourself.
Yeah, those ones are just me. I can't tell if I want to make like a geographic design or if I want to just make like a classic like pumpkin. Like, I'm kind of leaning towards. I was gonna do like something really artsy.
I mean, I love those as eyeballs.
I know. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, it's like Groot. Look at it. Oh, what's Groot look like? Doesn't he have just like a tiny mouth?
We could totally look him up on your phone.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he looks like. But yeah, correspondences. What about wine as a correspondence? Like,
ooh, yeah.
because I know
this wine pairs well with this kind of witchcraft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should totally make like a we should make a correspondence sheet for that. But
His eyes are a little different. I'm just gonna make a classic pumpkin. Yeah.
I like that idea. I always like maybe I'm just this crazy person that always wants to preserve things instead of watching them decay, because like when I get a pumpkin, I don't want it to decay from me cutting it. I want to keep it for as long into the winter as it will survive and then eat it. So I always just paint them, and then, you know, when they're starting to get a little soft, I'll just cut the skin off and make pie or something.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, wine. So like wine has always kind of been a part of my witchy practice, because when I was first getting started off, like many people, you know, Wiccans would use wine for like their cakes and ale ceremonies, and some people will have it on their altar as like a, what's it called? Like an offering. There's another word that I'm not thinking of right now. A libation. So, oh, look at that face.
I made the cutest pumpkin that's ever lived.
That's adorable.
Okay, I'm gonna make his mouth a little better, but everyone's gonna be like, these girls are spazzes.
We're a little crazy.
The one's worrisome with the knife, like.
And the other one's like, what am I gonna do with this pumpkin? So yeah, I've always used wine in my practice, and I tried it out with like the traditional ways of like using it for cakes and ale, which for those who don't know, basically cakes and ale in a coven would be like where everyone kind of has a little party after doing their ceremony together. But the purpose of it, whether you are in a coven or if you're a solitary practitioner, is that when you're doing magic, you're supposed to kind of maybe be not on a complete empty stomach, but you don't want to be like munching while you're doing magic, because you want to like be in the zone kind of thing. And then if you know, a lot of energy has been taken from you while you're doing that magic, basically you're supposed to eat some food and drink something. It can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, to kind of bring yourself back into, you know, consensus reality. And a lot of people will use like wine and some kind of bread for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I love wine, so I was like, hey, that can be part of my spiritual practice. Why not?
Yeah. I definitely, yeah. I mean, granted, I did have some people over from Mabon.
Yeah.
My fear was there. I
It
definitely
was a
like.
wonderful-
I was
wonderful
definitely
gathering.
snacking while like reading runes. I was like, I don't give a shit.
I feel like that was kind of just like a girls' night kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like if you're doing like a serious working,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like something.
Then yeah.
different.
But I also, I don't do a lot of that kind of work if I have to get up early the next day, like, because you can't go right to sleep. Like, you do need to reground yourself and be like, okay, and it is like a grounding thing. Eating food is grounding, and or even if I've had like a rough like therapy session, and I've had to like go and walk around for a little bit, walk around outside.
Like, because you have that client's energy and you need to kind of like release that.
Yeah, and it's one of my things is I'm sort of finding my direction as a therapist as well, as I work with a lot of clients on creating rituals.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, which creating healthy rituals, especially one of my specializations is within breakups. So I have worked with clients to do closure ceremonies, and what I've done also after I've had some awful breakups too, is to go out. There's one where I was able to go out to a lake, really scenic and stuff, and sit alone under a full moon and be like, this isn't mine anymore, I'm going to give this back to, like, symbolically,
really
like, give all of this energy, all of this pain to the earth, because the earth can handle it. So what some people have done is, like, burning things can be really helpful, because you're like,
Ooh, pyro.
yeah. One client was like, I really like burning things. I'm like, okay, like, you're saying that, like, I really need you to say it, like, not, like, this isn't a problem now. Like, we were joking, but,
It's like, I'm a therapist. If this is a problem, I would have to report it.
No, I mean, it was all in good fun. We were joking. But I've noticed that too, because it's also, like, especially things like letters, if there was like any manipulation or narcissism or just like toxicity in your relationship, taking that toxicity and saying, no, this is actually like, this is ash. This is stuff something else can grow out of. It's not, because ash is good. It's another correspondence. It can be really helpful to scorch the earth and things sometimes, because even though like fire is really destructive, it creates something new.
Yeah, I feel like that's on topic for the time of year too. Like fire, this was considered a fire festival, right?
I don't know.
I think in the like pagan Celtic version, it was considered a fire festival, and that like they would have bonfires for it. But I feel like if I were living outside, I'd have bonfires for
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, I feel like everything's a fire festival in my book, so.
Yeah, but like, so a lot of people will work with fire this time of year, and like the way that makes sense for me, aside from like, because obviously an autumn bonfire would be awesome, I've done them, but like it's also, fire has that exact same creation and destruction theme that fits perfectly with this time of year.
Yeah. Yeah, because while like the leaves fall and stuff, they become mulch for next year's dirt.
Yeah, we wouldn't have, oh my gosh, compost, dude.
Compost.
I am obsessed with compost. In case anyone was wondering, living in a apartment right now where I don't have a garden where I can just dump compost and watch it decompose, because that is one thing I do like to watch decompose. It's like plant matter. But like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, I love the concept that plants and everything else, other biological matter, like once it's not what it was when it was alive, we can still benefit from it by turning it into fertilizer and giving it back to Mother Earth. And this actually like goes into like a deeper topic that probably fits in with the theme of like doing shadow work and like knowing your deep parts of yourself. But like when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I had an eating disorder, and part of it was obviously just the like not loving myself enough, wanting to change my body thing, but it was also deeply rooted in the concept of like waste. Like I think there was kind of like a karmic cycle in my family of like, oh, there's never enough to eat, so when there is enough to eat, we need to make sure that we use all of it, and if anybody wastes anything, they're in trouble. So like I felt like I had to finish my food all the time, even if I wasn't hungry, and then I'd feel guilty about it because like I wanted to lose weight, and it was this vicious cycle. So when I found out about composting, that actually was part of my healing process of having an eating disorder, because I was like, oh, so I don't have to feel guilty that I'm not finishing what's on my plate. I can either save it for leftovers, or if it's not good anymore, I can just feed it to my garden and watch like bugs and other plants eat it and turn it into something that's gonna make more things grow. All right, heck yeah, I can get on board with that. Yeah. And so like that's part of what completely changed that for me. Oh yeah. So like now, unfortunately, I can't really compost because I'm in an apartment, but like I will, like if I have a planter outside, I'll sometimes throw certain things in there and they can kind of be fertilizer. And
totally. Yeah. I've seen some really cool trash cans too, where you can get the ones that like it filters down, and then you can pull out a drawer and it's like really healthy dirt. So maybe you can find one of those.
I'm gonna have to get one of those.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's fantastic. I'm glad you got over that. So,
cheers.
Or at least moved through it. Yeah.
Now I just drink wine instead.
Hey.
We all have our vices.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, I think that something I've decided for myself, and I've told everybody that's really close to me in my life, whenever the topic comes up, I was like, when it's my time to go, I don't want to be filled with chemicals and put in a box. And I would like to just be, I'd like to go somewhere like the Body Farm, or one of those ones where they make it like a pod and you turn into a tree. Like that's what I would like.
I want to be a tree.
I want to be a tree too. Because that would be so much more meaningful to me than to be like, well, better make my dead body look like it's living.
Yeah, yeah.
Our death rituals are really, really strange.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to Samantha Valens on YouTube?
No.
She is, you guys watch her, she's amazing. She is basically a witch who is very into like the death part of the cycle. She works in a funeral home. She's like done that kind of work for a lot of years, and she does a lot of shadow work. She does like communicating with spirits and stuff.
Yeah.
And she did an episode a while ago where she literally was like, all right guys, we're gonna talk about what really happens when you die, like, because our culture likes to cover it up so much. And she would like explain like how bodies decompose and like all this kind of stuff.
And that's stuff that's fascinating to me. Like, I don't know why that's always been like, I'm like, oh, it's dead. Like,
yeah.
I don't, yeah.
Like, to me, like, I'm definitely grossed out by stuff like that, but when someone can talk about it in a way that's like, we're going to talk about this because, like, it's part of life. You don't necessarily need to go and watch bodies decompose, but, like, we can talk about, like, what this means and how this works, and I feel like, I mean, why not?
Yeah, why not? Because it's inevitable. It is inevitable. But, yeah, I think we do have some very weird practices. I mean, okay, that's weird sounds judgy.
And we're not judgy witches.
We're not judgy.
Usually.
But I think that there's some counterproductive practices surrounding death, and in many different kinds of death too, not even just like physical death. Like, we're sort of an emotionally hoarding culture where it's really hard for people to let anything go. And maybe that's...
Except for things like disposable clothing, which is...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is true.
Me.
That's very true.
Because, like, where something isn't being practiced, it gets made up for in a different area. Because, like, balance has to happen somehow.
Yeah.
So, our culture's a little out of sync right now.
Exactly, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, even just understanding, I think that's been one of the greatest lessons of my past couple years, is how to let people and things that don't serve me go, and parts of myself being like, this is not where I want to be or who I want to be, or I'm not really living authentically by doing X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Like, if this person doesn't make me happy to hang out with them anymore, I don't need to salvage it just because I've spent a long time around them. Like, if they're... And that sounds completely selfish and stuff. I don't mean that like, oh, my friend's having a hard time and they're being a bummer, I'm going to ditch them.
It's like if you're literally not getting anything out of the relationship anymore.
And I'm not providing anything for them except for a habit, mm-hmm. then I don't feel the need to hold on to that anymore.
Oh, girl, I was literally talking about this with my boyfriend yesterday because he's one of those people who, like, he keeps, like, old phone numbers, and he keeps all these people as friends on Facebook that he's never going to talk to, doesn't care about at all, doesn't like. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, I am that person. Like, it is part of my witchy practice, I want to say, or, like, my spiritual practice to release things cyclically. Yeah. So, like, whether it be every moon cycle, every, like, menstrual cycle, every year, every few years, like, whatever it is, I will go through everything in my life at some point and will weed out the things that I need and the things that I don't.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's important because it reminds you of what's really important to you, and it keeps your energy fresh, because the fact of the matter is, if you have a long laundry list of things that you don't really need to do, if you have a long friends list of people that you don't really like, anything like that, like even just hoarding physical items that you don't need anymore, that don't represent who you want to become or who you are now, your energy is still getting drained by those things because you have that attachment to them. Mm-hmm. So if you can release those things and hopefully like recycle them into something that can help someone else or whatever, or do it with intention, if you're releasing a friendship or something like that, then that energy comes back to you and you can use that life force energy for things that actually matter to you now.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you were saying about like doing rituals with your clients.
Yeah, and that's my I've had many clients that are fresh out of breakups. And I'm like, but I get it, this is really painful and you do need to honor it. But once you're done in this like healing stage, look at all this energy you have, and the things they pick up amazes me, amazes them. It's the same thing whenever I've released things that were really important in my life. That's how I ended up starting Qween, like me and Christine, y'all like started Qween City. That's how we started. Just, it was like, oh.
Like one door closing, another door opens.
I'm not spending all of my time like trying to fix something that's not working. I like got other things I could be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the fantastic pieces of life.
So guys, Ashera made this adorable pumpkin. I just started doodling because I'm afraid to cut my pumpkin apparently.
I'm very, very proud of this pumpkin.
I want to, like, can we put a candle in there?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my God, he's got one now. I'm very, very proud of myself right now.
So that's our episode, guys. And so Ashera and I have some news. We're going to be doing these seasonally now instead of lunarly because we realized we're just busy AF. And
yeah.
And what's great about these is we have like a theme, like a
Yeah.
natural theme to go off of.
So you should see us around
Winter
solstice.
solstice.
Winter solstice. Sweet. Okay.
Merry everything, guys. We'll be
We'll
celebrating.
talk about like the birth of light, what we're gonna manifest and stuff. Yeah.
New Year vibes for the next one.
Yes.
And definitely leave us comments and let us know what you guys want us to talk about, because honestly, we're just two witches sitting here blabbering about whatever comes to mind, and it's probably more fun if we, have something to respond to. So if you guys have questions or anything that you want us to talk about, whether it's about like what we do as like witches, or like we both obviously do like self-development stuff for our careers, and we focus on those kinds of things in every aspect of our lives, or if you just want to hear about like witchy subjects and like a witch's view on that, let us know. We are open to suggestions.
All right.
All right, guys. Well,
Cheers.
until next time, blessed be.